Hey, it's been a couple of weeks. I believe more than 3 weeks since I created my last podcast. I was busy with a few things, but today I wanted to do a podcast on a very interesting topic that combines two passions. One is Indian philosophy, and the other one is Jyotisha. Astrology. Even though I have a dislike for the English term, it might be just me, but the English term astrology for Jyotisha, in my mind, has a cheap connotation. So I always try to use Jyotisha instead of astrology, but that's what it is. It's astrology and Indian philosophy. So what I'm going to be combining is that Indian philosophy contains elements of astrology, and astrology contains elements of philosophy. So there is a connection, and it's not a stretch to understand that, because if you look at the Shed Vedangas, Vedanga means the tools that you would need to understand the Vedic literature, and it's Shed as in it is six of those tools. Four of those are language tools, and you might have heard these. It is Shiksha, which means the science of pronunciation, Vyakarana, which means grammar, Nirukti means etymology, and Chandas is prosody or meter, it's poetry. So these four, that is related to the literature side of things, because all of the Vedic literature is words. So that how those are to be studied is these four angas, these four tools that has to be mastered in order to learn the Vedic literature. The other two are Jyotisha and Kalpa. Jyotisha is astronomy, Phala Jyotisha is astrology, and Jyotisha is that combined, and the Kalpa is the science of rituals, the process of doing the rituals. So these are the six angas, and the Jyotisha is sometimes, it is very easy to understand that yes, we need tools to understand Vedic literature, because Vedic literature is language. The Kalpa portion is also fine, because all of the hymns are used as part of rituals. But what we don't understand, what people generally don't understand, is how is Jyotish, astronomy, astrology related to Vedic literature? I mean, why do I need to study that in order to understand Vedic literature? It is a long thing. I've explained it in many of my Gita classes, as part of Gita class. But a quick summary of what it means is that the story of astrology, the story of the Rashis, the planets, the grahas, I shouldn't even say planets, because four of them are not planets. Sun is a star, moon is a satellite, and Rahu Ketu are shadows. So it's graha. Graha is that which grabs our destiny, that us. That means that which can influence us. So we have foolishly translated it as planets and made a fool of ourselves. That's aside the point. So how is Jyotisha connected with Vedic literature? Is the stories in the Vedic literature, especially in the Puranas, are the stories of the stars. They're stories of the grahas in different rashis, and their interactions tell a story. And that story is what the Puranas tell. So understanding the Puranic story will reveal the meaning of the planetary positions and how it affects us. So that is how these two are connected. So now, coming to the topic for this podcast, how is It's basically astrology in Bhagavad Gita. And it is a little hard to understand that there is astrology in the Bhagavad Gita. No, it is not. It has to be decoded. It is not. It is not something that is you're going to find in the superficial reading of the Bhagavad Gita. But if you decode the shlokas, astrological principles are actually part of what the Gita says. So philosophy is astrology, astrology is philosophy, at least in the Indian sense of those things. Now, I want to look at one particular shloka from the Bhagavad Gita, and all of you probably already know that shloka. It's the famous Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma phalahetur bhuhu mate sangostu akarmani. So that is a very famous shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. But there is an astrological principle hidden in that shloka that we will go ahead and decode and make sense of it. That way connecting philosophy to the Jyotisha and Jyotisha to philosophy. So to understand that, let me share my whiteboard. I've created a chart. Give me 1 second. Presenting. Okay, so yeah, so this is a South Indian or a Southern style of representing grahas and rashis, and I only have the Rashi Chakra, and this is the rectangular form, which is more prevalent in the south of India. And you can see there are two of those chakras. One is called Rashi, which is basically what we see out there. Even though there are no compartments like this in the sky, these compartments are based on the zeros. It's actually the Chitra Paksha, so the 0 degrees, and then that measurement of alignment of constellations. The lines are drawn in the chart. It is not in the sky, as obviously everybody knows, but it is drawn in the chart with the measurements between constellations. That starts with the Chitra. So what the first part of the shloka from the Bhagavad Gita says, Karmani eva adhikaraha te, which means te adhikaraha karmani eva. Arjuna, Krishna is saying this to Arjuna, your adhikara means fitness, what you're fit to do, is karmani eva. That means, Arjuna, you, and by implication all of humanity, and of course all of jivas everywhere, but let's just take humanity. All of humanity, their fitness is to act alone. And ma phaleshu kadachana, which means they are unfit to control the outcome of their actions. So two things. So Krishna, in the first part of the shloka, karmani eva adhikaraha, you are fit to only act, ma phaleshu kadachana, you are fit, or you do not have in your power the power to control the outcome of your action. Outcome in our control, actions are, like what we can do is in our control. Fantastic one. So that principle is actually these two charts. If you look at any traditional birth charts, they always have. And why do they have these two? And what is this Navamsha? So this is how the sky would look now, with, if I populate it with the relevant, like the sun is in, this is Leo, like Aries, Taurus, Cancer, and Leo. So like sun is here, and Venus is here. So, and Shani and Saturn is here, Jupiter is here. So if we populate it, basically it's going to show you how the grahas, or the planets and the stars, how they are aligned in the sky as observed. Like if you look at this as observation from the earth, as observed from the earth, this is how these positions look. What is Navamsha? So the word itself says Nava-amsha. That means 1/9 portion chart. 1/9 of what? 1/9 of each of these rashis. So, right now Jupiter is here. So if this rashi is divided into 9 parts, then each part is 9 here. So the Aries will start from Aries. So if you divide these 9 parts, then it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is what it's going to be. So it's going to be 9 parts of this house shown again as a Rashi here. But this is Navamsha Chakra. But the 1/9 of a Rashi. Okay. So why 1/9? Because 9th is considered as Bhagya, or what we bring from the previous birth, from the karma that we have done before, becomes the phala, or the fruit, or the outcome controlling force out there in the universe. So then the way to understand karmanyeva adhikaraste is the Rashi always shows what actions we do, what desires we desire, right? And the Navamsha shows what is going to be the outcome of that desire and action. This is basically action and the outcome. Whether the outcome will be success or failure, that we can see in the Navamsha. The Bhagya, basically how is our Purva Punya, whatever we have done before, how is it supporting our path, our actions to positively get the outcome, or is it opposing our actions so that action does not result in a favorable outcome, right? That's what this one shows. So here the first part of the shloka says karmani eva adhikaraste, which is basically what we can do. That's what is in our in our power, and that is your Rashi chart. That's what is shown in your Rashi chart. And we do not control the outcome of what we do, because the outcomes we don't directly control. It's the universe, right? It's a lot of complications, it's a lot of complex systems interacting to result in an outcome of our action. And that is what this shows, is that which we don't control, but that which we bring from our previous actions. So Navamsha is telling you whether if whatever you do will result in success, a favorable outcome, or an unfavorable outcome. So the Bhagavad Gita's first shloka, or the shloka, Karmanyeva shloka, that first line is actually defining the Rashi chart, Karmani eva adhikaraste, what we can do, and the Navamsha chart, Map Jana. This is not that but that which what we have done before controls. So outcome is controlled by the forces that is beyond our control. That's the first part. Beautiful. The second part, ma karma phala hetur bhuhu, which means do not make your actions contingent on or dependent on some outcome, desired outcome that you want. That means do not make it a kamya karma. Like whenever we say kamya karma, basically it means that we act to get something. We act in a desire, with a desire to acquire or get something. That's a kamya karma. So ma phala hetur bhuhu, what Krishna is saying is, let not your actions be determined by a selfish desire to get or acquire something, right? And then ma karma phala hetur bhuhu ma te sangostu akarmani. And let not, just because there is not a favorable outcome, do not make that into something that you will not work for. So if there is not something in it for you, you will not act, you will not do something, right? So you'll only work when there is a outcome that you want from it, and you will not do anything if there is nothing in it for you, right? Those, what's in it for you, right? That's the principle. So that principle is what it's called, in short, they call it WIIFM principle, which is what's in it for me. So that is basically the portion what Krishna is talking about. Ma karma phalahetur bhuhu. Even if there is nothing in it for you, what has to be done has to be done. Mate sangostu akarmani. If there is nothing in it for you, let that not lead to inaction. You have to act for its own purpose and not for the outcome purpose. And now that second portion is also beautifully shown in the astrological chart. So let me show. So if this is the, let's consider this as the first house. I mean, first house can be any house depending on when you were born and what sign is rising in the eastern horizon. But for simplicity's sake, let's make this is Aries as the first house. So if Aries is the first house, that means it's the house that is rising in the eastern horizon. Then let's say Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Tula is Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, right? So that's what it is. So karma in this chart is given by the 10th house. So the 10th from when you were born, the 10th is here. This is the Makara Rashi or Capricorn. So I'll make another sign here or mark this. So that is the 10th house. That's the house of karma. Okay. So the principle in Indian Jyotisha, which says that the house +1 or the next to it is the house that sustains the previous house. And the house that is -1, that's behind it, is the house that destroys this. The house that stands in the 12th is usually called Vyaya. So Vyaya from that means that house. So this is Labha, this is Vyaya. That means not to confuse with the Vyaya of the Lagna itself, that's a different house. But for every house, like for example here, the one I have marked is actually 10th house is always the middle of the sky, the highest point of the sky at all times is the 10th. That's the throne of Indra. That's called as the throne of heaven or Indra, Swarga's throne. And that's always on top of our heads. It's like right above us. So that's the 10th house, and that's the house of karma. That's the one that determines what we will this life, what karmas we will do. Not just profession, everything, all karma that we will do in this life, that is seen by the 10th house from the house you were born. Now, and like I was saying, the 11th, that's the next house +1 house, is its sustainer. It sustains. That means the sustaining of in astrology, 11th house, which is this house, is called as Labhasthana. That means it is the one that will show us what desires will be fulfilled. This is fulfilled desires, of course, related to here. But then what happens? This is the 9th house, and 9th house is called Dharmasthana or Punyasth or Bhagyasthana. So Bhagya, this is what we bring. It's shown in the 9th house. So it gives you a very interesting combination here. So the 10th, which is the actions that you do. So it is in front of it is the results that you're going to get, or it's more than the results. Whether it's a favorable result or not is finally determined here. But what desire you have to fulfill which you are doing this karma. that is shown by the 11th house, Labhasthana. And then this is the 9th house, is the Dharmasthana. So, which means it's actually a destruction of this action. See, if you have a desire and your desire increases, that means when you act towards a desire, the desire fosters more action, more desires, more action, and it's a vicious cycle leading to more and more karma, which is unsustainable. And the house, the 9th house, which is the house of Bhagya or Dharma, is what? Destroying karma. It destroys karma. So now, with this basic understanding, we can look at the karmanyeva adhikaraste, the shloka. So, ma karma phala hetur bhuhu. Let not your actions, that is determined by the 10th house, let it not be determined by the desire you want to be fulfilled, which is your 11th house. 11th house, even though it is supposed to be a house of gains, but you are gaining by creating more action. It's a very, very vicious cycle. So what Krishna is saying is, to destroy your karma, which means you have to destroy the desire, right? Destruction karma is not stopping from actions. Action has to continue. But desire here has to be destroyed, which means it needs to go to 9th house, which is dharma. So dharma, doing your actions for the purpose of dharma, is going to destroy your karma phala. Your karmas will be destroyed. Even though you're acting, the actions will have no results, adverse results for you. It's going to have a good results, the dharmic results for you. But if the action is because of some desire, which is the 11th house, then that desire is going to hook you into doing more and more karma. And that is the reason why in the zodiac, this house is a joint ownership of both Shani, which the Saturn, and Rahu, the worst graha in all of the navagrahas, Rahu. So it's saying, what is it saying? That this Rahu is a temptation to desire more and more, gain more and more, but that puts us in a vicious cycle of acting more and more, and it's a never-ending pursuit of some never get. Reach all the desires that's there in the 11th house. And so Krishna says, Matak sangostu akarmani. So he says, Ma karma phala heturbhu. Do not make the 11th house the motivation for the 10th house. Do not make gains the desire for actions. Then what else? Make dharma the desire for action. That means there has to be a desire to act, but let that desire not be selfish desires, which is what 11th house is, but 9th house, which means let that desire be dharmic, something that's good, greater than a greater good that one we can do. If we do something and the motivation is a greater good of the whole community or something greater good, that is not a pursuit of the 11th house of Labhasthana, but it's a pursuit of 9th house, Dharmasthana. So that results in no karma phala. So in short, the Karmanyeva adhikaraste shloka actually principles that you have to have two charts, the Rashi chart and the Navamsha chart, that shows our power is to act, which is the chart, and the outcomes of that action are not in our control. We bring the bhagya, the luck, as what it's called. That's luck is nothing but what we have previously done. The results of our previous actions becomes luck in this birth, and that luck is shown by Navamsha. That's one part, the first part of the Gita. The second part is, right, the act, if it is like, which is the 10th house in the Rashi chart, if that is in pursuit of a gain, a selfish gain, just for yourself, exclusively you, that is the 11th house desire. All 11th house desire is exclusively for yourself. Then that is going to create more and more and more action, which leads to more and more and more desires. And this is a vicious cycle. The virtuous cycle is the action that is done for the greater good, which is the dharma here, which is the 9th house. When that is done, this house destroys the karma of this house, and therefore it's a virtuous cycle. The more of this activity one does, this desires that one has, which is when I say this desire, this the dharmic desires, like the love to, the desire to learn, the desire to give, the desire to do more charity, the desire to think. All of those desires are not 11th house desires, they are the 10th house desires. The more you have that desires, the more of this is destroyed, the more of our karma is destroyed. So those astrological principles are encoded in the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, and when you decode, you see such a beautiful exposition of how that translates it into a different domain of Jyotisha, from philosophy to Jyotisha. So those of you who have, let's say, a graha in the 11th house, wherever your 11th house falls, are driven by that graha's desires. And those who have the ones in the 9th house are usually driven by those desires. So dharmic desire. So look into that and see what is motivating, and see if that shows what your desires really are, because you always need to connect that what you see there in Jyotisha to what you really are, because you need to make sure that they are. So always make sure that you are looking at what your motivations are, where your actions are coming, where it's going. And because Jyotisha is a sadhana. It is to see what issues we have, what karma we bring, and how to correct that karma. And it has now become a useless way of seeing if we'll gain wealth and all of that stuff. Jyotisha is not really for that. Jyotisha is really a tool for sadhana, and that's the reason why it is one of the shadangas, one of the tools that's required in the study of the Vedic literature. Hope this sense and you liked it. And next time I will go into greater detail on another principle, and I have a few ideas. I think you're going to love it. And until next time, may not be next week, maybe a couple of weeks. See you in the next podcast, next show. Make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want me to put a lot more of these content. Again, that's a kama karma. So I am going to put the content for your likes, but that's how it works. But just so that I am teaching it, and the interaction and the likes and subscribes, it lets me know, it's a feedback that you are liking it, you're learning from it. And so, instead of making it about likes and subscribes, I want to make sure it is about dharma, the 9th house. Are you learning something from it? What did you learn? What questions do you have? So share your questions in the comment section of YouTube. And until next time, bye.